Chapter 6, partner test on Friday. Here are the answers. Number 1, this is the non-calculator portion. You have a right triangle, and they're asking you for all of the ratios. Now, this was a little tricky, and I did this on purpose because I wanted to see if you knew the definition of sine. In listening to some classes talk, some people thought because these were underneath each other that the cotangent was the reciprocal of sine. Absolutely not. Which ones are reciprocals? These two are reciprocals. These two are reciprocals. And these two are reciprocals. First thing you're going to have to do is figure out what this side is. How do you figure out what this side is? 2 and a 5. You use the Pythagorean theorem. So 2 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. My pencil's breaking. 5 squared. So if you square 5 and you square 2, you get 4 plus b squared equals 25. And b squared is 21, so b is root 21. So in reference to this angle, this is the location. If I were to put the angle here, then opposite hypotenuse. But because the angle is located here, this is the opposite side. You got to know, root 21 over 5. Now if you want to quickly do cosecant, it'd be 5 over root 21 or 5 root 21 over 5 over, sorry guys, over 21. That's right. 5 root 21 over 21. How about cosine? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 2/5. And then the secant would be 5/2. And tangent would be opposite over adjacent. And then this one, if you flip it, you get 2 over root 21 or 2 root 21 over 21. Next one, number 2. You have a 30, 60, 90. How do you go from the longer leg to the shorter leg? You guys know how to go from the shorter leg to the longer leg. You multiply it by square root of 3. But to go from this way to that way, you go 15. You're going to divide by square root of 3. Now, you have to rationalize this. You get 15 root 3 over 3. And if you simplified it, I think I may have made a mistake. If anyone has 5 root 3, if you have 5 root 3, that is correct. Or 15, if you have 15 root 3 over 3, that is correct. Did anyone have 5 root 3 and you lost a point?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to fix your test.
Okay.
I checked these on the way I was in the car, so that's my mistake. I will, let me know after this and I will fix your paper.
Okay.
You're going to get an A tomorrow anyway, right?
We'll see.
All right, how about this one, number 3? You've got a 45, 45, so you know the legs are the same. How do you go from the legs to the hypotenuse of a 45? You multiply it by square root of 2. Now, if I give you the hypotenuse and I ask you to find the leg, what would you do? Divide by square root of 2, okay? Got it, everybody?
Yeah.
All right, number 4. 4, 5, and 6. And that's a typo. It should be 4 through 6. You are finding the acute angle. Whose ratio is that, or that? Well, depending on which word you have there, this one's saying tangent. So what I do is I draw a triangle, and it doesn't matter what kind of triangle. A lot of times I just draw equilateral triangles. That's not the point here. The point is you have to know what the definition of tangent is. What's the definition of tangent? It's opposite over adjacent. What angle are you whose side opposite over adjacent is a 1-to-1 ratio? Well, I'll put that in there for you. Do you know what angle that is? What angle is this? It's a 45. So number 4 is a 45-degree angle. Cosine. So again, I'm going to draw a triangle. Doesn't matter what it looks like, just as long as it's a right triangle. Cosine means what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So here would be the adjacent side. This is the hypotenuse. What's this side going to be? A 1. What angle are you? This is a 30-degree angle. And the next one, 1 to 2, and it says sine. Sine is opposite. That is your opposite side. And that's your hypotenuse. So what's this root 3? What angle are you? 30 degrees. Questions? Number 7. I want you to find side A. And where is side A? Well, if that's angle A, this is little a, this is little b, and this is little c. You should know that from geometry. This says the cosecant of A, here's A, so in reference to this location, what's the definition of cosecant? What's that? Hypotenuse, so we're going to call this 8. And what would this side be? Opposite. You got to know what these words mean. Now, it tells you and B is 24. Well, I just said B is 8. What does that mean? We're talking about a similar triangle. And I gave you a hint. Draw another triangle. So I want to know if B was really 24. This is B. I want to know what A is. Now, a lot of you guys did this in your head. It wasn't difficult. How do you go from 8 to 24? Multiply it by 3. So how do you go from here to here? What are you going to do? By 3. So what's the answer? 9. What you could have done was you could have done 3 over 8 equals A over 24 and then cross multiply. And you'll get the same answer. Questions? It's easy?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it was like one page.
Okay, now, watch me draw this triangle, the circle. Okay, here's your circle. Zero, a half, 1, 1.5, and what else do we call this one? 2. Now let's do the quarters. This would be 1/4, 2 quarters. What's this? 3/4. This is 4 quarters. This is 5 quarters. This is 6 quarters. This is 7 quarters. And this is 8. 8 quarters is 2. And now we're going to do a 1/6, 2/6. What's another name for 2/6? A third. This is 3/6. What's another name for 3/6? This is going to be 4/6. What's another name for 4/6? 2/3. This is what? 5/6. 6/6. What's another name for 6/6? Pi. This is going to be 7/6. This is going to be 8/6. You can reduce these by 2. You get 4/3. 9/6. What's another name for 9/6? 3/2. 10/6. What's another name for 10/6? and 11/6. And this is gonna be 12/6 or 2 pi. Okay? So now, here's your circle. I'm gonna do this. All of the angles in this are quadrant 1. These are quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Got it? So, you gotta know when they ask you, what is the sign of 3 pi over 4? Where are you at? You're here. And in quadrant 2, the x values are negative, but the y's are positive. In quadrant 3, x and y are negative. And in quadrant 4, x is positive, but y's are negative. The radius is always what? Positive, not 1. Positive. Okay? So now, so where is sine of 3 pi over 4? Where's 3 pi over 4? It's right there. 3 pi over 4. So we're going to draw a triangle in quadrant 2. If from here to here is 3 pi over 4, what's this reference angle? Pi over 4. It's a 45er. What are the ratios of a 45? 1, 1, root 2. But we've got to call that negative 1. Why do we call that side negative 1? Because it's in quadrant 2 and all the x values are negative in quadrant 2. Does that make sense? So now this question says, what's the sign of 3 pi over 4? Look at that, use that angle, that pi over 4, and it's opposite over, so it's 1 over root 2, and you're smart enough to rationalize. Easy? What if it would have said, what's the tangent of 3 pi over 4? It'd be negative 1 over 1. Or 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. What if I would have said, what's the cosine of 3 pi over 4? It'd be negative 1 over root 2 or root 2 over 2. Does that make sense? What if I said, what's the sine of 11 pi over 6? Where's 11 pi over 6? Right here. What quadrant is 11 pi over 6 in? 4. So you go like this. You draw your triangle and you're gonna go all the way here. So from here to here is 11 pi over 6. So what's this reference angle? It's pi over 6. What is pi over 6? Is it a 30 or a 60? 30. So can you name these sides right here?
1. Negative 1.
Negative 1.
2. Root 3.
Remember, the radius is always positive. So what is the sine of this angle? Would be negative 1/2. What if I said, what's the cosine? You'd say root 3 over 2. What if I would have said tangent? You'd say negative 1 over root 3 or negative root 3 over 3. So does everybody understand how they turn out to be negative or positive? Okay. Now, what about number 9? Where is pi over 2? Why did I see triangles in quadrant 1? Where's pi over 2, you guys? We just went through the circle. Where's pi over 2? Here's pi over 2. Now think of the unit circle. How do you get to this point? This is 0, 1, right? And I told you when you're on these spots right here, so this is 1, 0, 0, 1. This is negative 1, 0. This is 0, negative 1. R is always a positive 1. Well, you've got to know what the definition of cosine is. Cosine is x over r. Well, if you're asked to find the cosine at pi over 2 at 90 degrees, what is the x value here? It's 0. It's x and y. 0 over 1 is, what's 0 over 1? It's 0. So the answer to 9 is 0. What if I said, what's the sine of pi over 2? Well, sine is y over r. Y is 1, 1 over 1 is 1. What if I said, what's the tangent of pi over 2? Tangent is x, y over x, y over x, and it'd be 1 over 0 or undefined. So tangent at pi over 2 is undefined. How about 5 pi? Where is 5 pi? Well, if we start here and go around, where did I just go? I went to 2 pi. And if I go around, that's 4 pi. And where's 5 pi? Right here. So in other words, if I would have subtracted 4 pi, pi is coterminal to 5 pi. So what is this spot right here? This is negative 1, 0. And tangent is y over x. The y value is 0. The x value is negative 1. What's 0 over negative 1? It is also 0. (11) 17 over 6. If I convert this to a mixed number, how many times does 6 go into 17? 12. 6 goes into that 2 times, it's 12, and 5, 6 pi. So this is 2 and 5, 6, which means too big. Too big. Take the 2 away. Subtract 2 pi. So 5, 6 is your coterminal angle. Where is 5, 6 pi? What quadrant? Where is it? So 5, 6 is right here. So we're going to use this pi over 6 angle. We're in quadrant 2. That's a 30 degree. So this is going to be 1, 2, square root of 3. Negative square root of 3. Why did I call that negative root 3? Because it's going left. So what's the cosine of this angle? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Negative root 3 over 2 is the answer. Questions? Did you get this better? You're what? Oh, you're confused on what you guys did. But you understand it now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, next one, number 12. Can you tell me where negative 3, 5 is? What quadrant is it in? So if you were to plot negative 3, 5, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is right there. So in other words, negative 3, 5, you need to figure out what this is right here. How do you figure out what that is? So you get 9 plus 25. R squared is 34. So R is root 34. If you can simplify it, do it, but you can't. So the R value is always positive. So how do you figure out what the sine is? Sine is, think of opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine would be 5 over root 34. And you're going to rationalize it, right? 5 root 34 over 34. Cosine is going to be negative 3 over root 34, or negative 3 root 34 over 34. And tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, 5 over negative 3, negative 5/3. Questions? So we want to beat that score that you got yesterday on Friday. Next. This is the calculator part. Now I think that the inspires are a little bit more difficult to change mode. So tomorrow when you do the calculator part, maybe grab 2 calculators, keep 1 calculator in degree mode, 1 in radian mode. How do you convert this to radian mode? I would make this one my radian calculator. First of all, how do you know which ones are in radian and which ones are in degree? Let's talk about it. 2 of them are in radian and 2 of them are in degree. Which are they? This is radian, degree, and degree. The degree one, look for the bubble. So if it's in degree mode, your calculator should have, if you're using this calculator, you go to mode and it's in degree. I would do this one in radian, make sure it's in radian, and then all you're going to do is do sine, and then 2 pi, parentheses, no, divided by 7, like that, and there's your answer. It's 0.7. Now read the directions. What does it say? Round to the nearest thousand. There's your thousand, so it should be 0.782. Should be your answer. I'm probably going to make this to the nearest 100th tomorrow. Why? Because it's easier for me to check. 100th is 2 places. How do you do tangent of 52? Again, make sure your calculator's in radian mode. Just hit tangent 52. So for this answer, it should have been negative 6.053. That's your 3 places. Then the next 2, you want to be in degree mode. So flip, change it to degree mode, hit enter, and let's clear. We want to do cosine, negative 10. And that answer is 0.985. You're going to make that a 5. And the last one, cotangent, you're going to do 1. I would use the other calculator. What's nice about it is you don't have to do this. You can just hit the trig button and then hit cotangent and then hit 47. And there's your answer, 0.933. Questions? It should be 0.933.
Wait, why did you do the one that I did?
Huh?
Why did you do the one that I did?
Because this calculator doesn't have cotangent. It's the reciprocal of it. Now, the rest of the test, you guys, your calculator needs to be in degree mode. If you're using the Inspires, you have to type it in and then hit make default. If you don't, it's not going to give you the right answer. All right, how do you solve this triangle? It says angle A is 38 degrees. 38 degrees right here. Solving the triangle means find, this would be little a, this would be little c, and this is b. And they tell you c is 10. This is 10. So the easiest thing to do is find that angle. How do you find this angle? You do 90 minus 38, and you should get 52 degrees. So angle C is 52 degrees. We use a capital letter for angle measures. How are you going to find side? What do we need? Side, that's an A right there. How do you find that side? What trig ratio? I'm going to use 38. What do you use? Tangent of 38 is equal to side opposite over 10. And you should get A is 7.81. And how do you find side B? I use the sine. Sine of 38 is adjacent. I'm sorry, let's use cosine. Because we want to use what we know. We want to use what we know. Cosine, even though we do know A, in case we made a mistake here, use the ones that are given. So 10 over b. Now how do you solve this? Do you cross multiply? You can, but then you've got to divide. So it's really 10 over cosine of 38. And again, you guys make sure your calculator's in degree mode. We're talking degrees. This answer works out to be 12.69. Number 3 comes from your homework from section 6.3. How do you find 7/8 of a circle in degrees? How many degrees are there in a circle? Now, if you use the Inspire, all you have to do is type that in, and it's going to give you the answer. It's 315 degrees. And what's 7/8 of a circle in radian? And you could even type this in your calculator. How many times does 2 go into 8? 4 times, so this would be 7 pi over 4. Easy? What does coterminal mean? You're going to add 360, add 360, add 360, or subtract 360, subtract 360, subtract 360. Which answers do you find? You find all of these are coterminal. This one's not. D was not coterminal. Okay, I want this angle to be between 0 and 2 pi. Right now, it's going backwards. That's 345 degrees. So if I wanted a coterminal angle that's between 0 and 2 pi, you're going to take negative 345 and you're going to add 360 degrees to that. You're going to get 15 degrees. So 15 degrees is definitely between 0 and 2 pi. Now how do you convert this to in radian measure? You're going to take 15 and you're going to multiply it by pi over 180, because that's how you convert. And you're going to get pi over 12. Because 15 goes into 180 12 times. So pi over 12. Question. Okay, the 3-story problems. 4-story problems, I'm sorry. Number 6. You have a 20-foot ladder, and it's leaning against a building, and it's forming a 58-degree angle. Here's your building. There's your building. Here's your ladder. How big is the ladder? 20 feet. And what's this ladder? This ladder is forming, sorry, didn't draw it so perfect, but there's your ladder. Here's the ground. It's forming a 58-degree angle with the ground. So, with just those 2 pieces of information, you could figure out how tall this building is, and you could figure out how far the ladder is from the building. So we'll call this X and Y. We need those 2 measures. One of the questions says, how far is the ladder from the building? The base, they want to know this. So how would we figure out this dimension right here? We need both of them. Let's do, do X first?
Yeah.
What trig ratio are you going to use to find X? Sine. So the sine of 58 is equal to X over 20. Make sure your calculator is in what mode? Degree mode. So what do you get? This should be 16.96. So 16.96 is this dimension right here. How do you figure out from here to here? Cosine. Cosine of 58 is y over 20. And I believe you get 10.6. So the ladder is 10.6 feet away from the building. But then what happens is your ladder slides. It's going to slide down. So what happens is it's now, here's your ladder. This is still 20, but this angle is 48 feet. We want to know how far it slid. So now let's figure out this dimension right here. We'll call it Z. We're going to use sine of 48 equals Z over 20. Z ends up being 14.86. So from here to here is 14.86. They're asking you how far did the ladder slide. So if from here to here is 16.96 and here is 14.86, how far did it go? You're going to subtract these two numbers. 16.96 minus 14.86, and you get 2.1. So the ladder slid 2.1 feet, and it was 10.6 feet away from the building originally. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, number 7. It says a tower is located 42 meters from a tall tree. Here's your tall tree. Here's a tower. It's located 42 meters. Here's the top of the tower. You've got to know, it says the angle of elevation to the top of the tree. So here, you have to draw horizontal. From here to here is 26 degrees. That's your angle of elevation. From here to here is 42. So what trig ratio could we use to figure out this portion of the tree? Call it x. Sine, cosine, or tangent? We know this side, we know tangent. So tangent of 26 is equal to side opposite over adjacent. You're going to multiply these two together and you're going to get 20.5. So from here to here is 20.5. Then it says the angle of depression to the base of the tree is 35 degrees. So here's the base of, this is 35 degrees. So we're going to use this triangle right here. And to figure out from here to here is called y. I'm going to use tangent again. Tangent of 35 is side opposite, which is y, over still 42 meters away. Cross multiply and you get y is equal to 29.4. Make sure your calculator's in degree mode. So how tall is the tree then? What would you do? Add x and y. So 20.5 plus 29.4 is 49.9, sorry. 49.9 what? Dogs, cats, what? Meters. I gave 5 points for these story problems. I looked at your picture, I looked at your setting. I tried to give as many points as I possibly could. Next one. So, you have 2 boats are observed from a lighthouse. And the lighthouse is 55 meters above sea level. So from here to here is 55. It says, the angle of depression to the boat closest to the lighthouse is 63. Which boat is closer, this one or this one, to the lighthouse? This one is. So from here to here, they're saying it's 63 degrees. Ignore this little piece right there. So from here to here is 63. How far is this boat from the lighthouse? So if from here to here is 63, you learned in geometry 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. What angle would this be? 63. I don't know. So how would you figure out this side right here? Sine, cosine, or tangent? No. Tangent of 63. Tangent of 63 is equal to side opposite over adjacent, so 55 over x. Okay, so when you're going to actually do 55 divided by tangent of 63, and you get, I got 28.02. So this boat from here is 28.02. 28.02. Then it says the angle of depression to the boat further away, I know the second boat, is 35 degrees. So here, so from here to here is 35 degrees. So how far is the lighthouse from that second boat? If this is 35, this is also 35. And from here to here, we'll call that y. You're going to do tangent of 35 is equal to y over 55. And again, cross multiply. I'm sorry, 55 over y. Opposite, comma. So now do 55 divided by tangent of 35. You're going to get, this one is 78.55. The question is asking you, how far apart are the two boats? Well, if from here to here is 28.02, and from here to here is 78.55, you're going to subtract those two. So take these two and subtract them. And the boats are 50.53 meters apart. And the last question comes from your homework, the heading problem. An airplane travels 250 miles for 3 hours and 15 minutes. So what's the distance? How do you find that distance? Distance is equal to rate times time. Well, we need to convert 15 minutes as a fraction. Okay, so how do you convert 15 minutes into a fraction? 15 over 60 is 0.25. So the rate is 250 times 3.25. Your distance is 812.5. Okay, that's your distance. So here we go. Here's our plane. Any navigation problem, we're going to do a lot of these problems in chapter 10. You always do north, this is south, east, and west. Your plane is going 245 degrees from the north. You're going to go this way. Each of these quadrants is 90 degrees. So from here, 245 degrees is somewhere in this quadrant right here. Here's your plane. That's how far it went. And it went 245 degrees. Why didn't I cross this line? Because this is 270 degrees. So now I want to know how far west, and how far south. So if from here to here is 270, and from here to here is 245, how do you figure out this angle right here? You're going to do 270 minus 245, and you get 25 degrees. So here's your airplane. Can you tell me what this dimension is right here? It's 812.5. So how would you figure out south and west? Let's do west first, because that was A. How do you figure out west? What trig ratio are you going to use? This is a 25-degree angle. Cosine of 25 is equal to the west over 812.5. And you're gonna get for this one 736.5, cross multiply. And south is gonna be sine. Sine of 25 is south over 812.5. And multiply south is 343.4. And these are both miles. Did anyone have any questions? It's the distance is equal to rate times time. It's 812. Does anyone have any questions on that? That was in your homework, we did it in class.
You might have answered that. You answered that one? When I plug in all that into this formula, this is gonna always be alright.
Test is tomorrow.